My Life as I Remember It, Chapter 1, Part 3, Anthras. I got the wrong one here. Let me get the right one here. I'm just going to leave this in. And you can kind of get an idea of what I was like. My Life as I Remember It, Chapter 1, Part 4, Anthras. The J.C. Penney Company had a store in Middlesboro, and they used money tubes to handle their purchases. A cashier sat in a cage up above the store floor, and the clerks placed the money into tubes and shot it up to the cashier. It was similar to the money tubes used at drive-in banks, but this process sent the tubes on steel cables, and you could see them going the complete distance. At J.C. Penney's, you could see the tubes coming from all directions, and this fascinated me. I could sit for hours and watch all of those transactions. My favorite comic strip was Smiling Jack. He was in the Army Air Force fighting the Japanese, and I could hardly wait to get the newspaper for another episode, and they carried that in the Knoxville News-Sentinel. I couldn't read, but I could figure out what was going on from the illustrations. Someone always read them to me, and I was completely engrossed in that series. The cartoon illustrator always exaggerated the features of the Japanese. It served its propaganda purpose because I learned to hate the Japanese. Don't hate them now, but I did then. I love books, and one had been read to me so often I had it memorized. People thought I could read when they heard me reading the words perfectly. I was inquisitive and always asked lots of questions. I usually got on everybody's nerves when we were in the automobile going somewhere because I was always asking questions. Betty read books to me, and I really did enjoy listening to those stories, especially the Bobbsey Twin series of books she read to me. Books would become my main source of education, and it made me want to learn everything from a book. This was opening up fantastic places and things for me. If the internet had existed during the 40s, this medium could have provided me with a wealth of information as it does today at age 72. When I worked for Bechtel in Oak Ridge, I was assigned to the Document Control Department after accepting an entry-level job in Bechtel's mailroom. My supervisor told the company library to order me any book I requested. During this time, I was given an assignment to archive some old documents from the Manhattan Project. This was a one-man project, and Bechtel placed me in an office with two of their subsidiary contractors, Argonne National Labs and Eberline Analytical. The final count when I finished those documents was approximately 25,000. I discovered a copy of a document signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I can't remember the date of the document, but it was signed not as President of the United States and not when he was Governor of New York, but when he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy. While I was archiving these documents, the Bechtel Library was ordering me all kinds of books. I would work like crazy to place as many documents into an Oracle database as I could. I would use the rest of the day to study. My supervisor was aware of this and didn't discourage it. During this time, I became proficient with the Oracle Relational Database Management System. At that time, Bechtel didn't have a lot of people working for them in the Oak Ridge office that knew the Oracle software. I continued to study and use all the tools available to me. One day, I overheard a conversation between the quality assurance manager and one of the engineers. A problem existed with the ability to track compliance documentation and work required by the Department of Energy. I asked my supervisor if I could build an Oracle application to track these documents and help the civil engineers comply with the Department of Energy requirements. I was granted permission to work on this database, and at the same time, I was asked to develop a training database for the Education Department. For my work, Bechtel rewarded me by promoting me to a position in the Automated Technology Department as a systems analyst. Bechtel used the applications I developed until the project was completed, which was years after I retired from the company. When I retired from Bechtel in 1995, I returned all the books they had given me.